Welcome back for another Casual Friday. And today we're going to talk about things I wish I knew early in my career. Maria, Matt, and I were discussing this as we've been doing some coaching and thought this would be a great topic. So I'm joined today by Matt Santa Cruz and Maria White. And let's just hop right into this. Matt, what is something you wish you knew earlier in your career?
Well, early in my career, I thought I had to know all of these things, the software from a graphic design school going into the workforce. I thought I had to know the intricacies and be an expert on all of these things, which in fact, I was more of a generalist and I didn't know exactly what to do with all of this software in particular, but I knew the basics of visual communications. And I think having that, it doesn't matter what software I came across and used, I could learn that. But having that foundation was more important than software. And coming right out, I thought I had to know all of the software like an expert, and that was not the case. So if I had to talk to myself right when I got out of school, I would say, don't worry about the software. You'll learn that. Focus on the foundation and expand on your craft.
Absolutely. You know what I'm glad we led with that one. And what's really freaky is when you go out and you look for job applications or job listings, they list every piece of software they can imagine. And I think I was probably guilty of listing a lot of stuff too. So people do have that thought. And that leads into what I want to mention as something I wish I knew early in my career. And that's that it's really building relationships is what really matters more than what's on your resume. Because when you go into that job interview and, I don't know Adobe After Effects, and that's one of the requirements. Part of the interview is really, is this somebody I want to work with? Is this somebody that, is going to be able to grow with us? Is this somebody who can, has the ability to learn and want to learn? So getting that rapport and building that relationship, is going to help you in the interview. And if you're lucky enough to land the job, you don't want to have, it's not about having somebody to go down to the coffee machine and get coffee. It's like, build rapport, get common knowledge, start to grow. Maria.
Yeah. No, thank you. I was going to respond to yours, but I'll hold it in. Thank you for asking. I apologize. That's my Rottweiler. He wanted to get in on this conversation. He obviously has something to say. I do apologize. So pretty much speaking up in meetings is something when you're early in your career that you don't do. You just sit there, listen. If someone asks you a question, you'll try to respond. Probably really, really nervous as well. Like I was nervous early on. Standing in front of people and speaking when I was like 21 was a nightmare. Just, I got very scared and very nervous. So I don't think like your voice is going to get any louder when you get more senior in a role. I believe that you should, even though you're nervous, you just have to practice doing it and practice doing it early on. Even if you think it's a silly question, just ask it. Get used to, asking questions in meetings so that you build that muscle as you continue in your career. I would say that that's one thing I wished that I would have learned earlier.
Yep. Matt, what do you have?
Well, I wanted to go back to relationships. I think finding and expanding on your career, having those connections really helps, especially when you're talking about the backgrounds that we have in technology. Some person would go from one company to another company and they'd often be big players in the technology space. So keeping those relationships on LinkedIn or phone call or text or running into them at your coffee shop, just keeping those really expands your opportunities to go do something else. If you always wanted to work for a company and a friend of yours went to that company, ping them for a coffee or a meetup or a meeting, or say, hey, can you take me on a tour of the campus if you have access to that? So having those relationships is even better than going to, submitting your application to a job site. It's huge.
Absolutely. What's something I want to add is feedback is not a personal attack. I know people who will get, shut down if the boss doesn't like something, or shut down if the team lead doesn't like something. And building on what you just said, Matt, is if you do have relationships on your team, or adjacent to your team that you built, you can always run things by them and get some feedback where, it's not on the record because I'm not in the meeting, or I'm not in front of my boss, and that can help you grow and move forward, because feedback is really a shortcut to fast growth. You might be doing something not to the best of your ability, and then if somebody just gives you a nudge, you can correct it and move forward. So ask for feedback, but especially ask for it from your network. Maria.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean, also as well, being busy, or appearing to be busy doesn't actually make you effective, or I don't even know if you're going to be getting the right work done, because when you're learning and you're early in career, you don't need to work 10 hours a day to impress anyone. You just need to make sure what you're doing is impacting. You're getting the work done. You're getting the work done on time. And let me tell you, if I could tell myself something, back in the day, it's like, you can save some of this work for tomorrow. You literally do not have to. I'm not saying don't do what you need to do to get the work done, but I am saying don't start your work life off, wanting to work 10 hours a day. Because let me tell you what's going to happen from someone who did that. It just sticks in your DNA. And then you never know when to turn off, and me, God knows how many years later, still I'll crank out, a 14-hour day, if not more, because I DNA'd it in when I was early in career. I was working, and I'm telling you, you don't need to do that. You just need to be impactful in what you're doing, do the right things at the right time, and raise your hand when you need to ask for help.
Yeah. I think that if folks that do that, it becomes an expectation of your team that you will always do that.
Yep.
So you're really not setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, I agree.
And one of the things that was a real light bulb moment going off for me was I learned the power of the word no. You can say, no, I'm not going to work the 14-hour day, or you can say, no, I'm going to do this tomorrow. But setting boundaries is really important. And if you're new in your career and you say yes to too many things, you could possibly be setting yourself up to fail, because you might be overwhelmed. Maybe I did say, yes, I can do that After Effects animation, and now I have to go home and learn After Effects. It's like, no, power of no is important. Yeah. And when I've shared that with people on my team and they've learned to say no back, I see that their careers have advanced, because now they're focused more on what they can do, instead of things they can't. Matt.
Yeah. On that same subject, I'll just, add a little tip there with, saying no and doing the things that don't burn you out. I think, all three of us have had parts of our career where we've experienced burnout, and it's not pleasant. So, I got a book recently that I'm just starting to read, and it's really good on that subject. It's called Essentialisms by Greg, McKeown. And, I'm just starting to read it. And so far it's addressing that subject, head on, about saying no about certain things and really focusing on what you're good at and what you're passionate at in your work and career. That's the goal of a career, do something that you're passionate at. And, but also remember that your job doesn't define your whole career. Careers can be long and winding. You could pivot. You can reinvent yourself. You can try something different, totally different in some cases. You're not locked in. So, if you do achieve burnout in some fashion and you want to change, you could pivot. One role, one title doesn't define your whole career. You're not locked in. So don't be subject to that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Maria, as we wrap up, what would you like to add?
There's one more thing that happens to a lot of people, and it happens. Sometimes it happens early in career when you don't think you're prepared to do the job. And, there's even a term for it now called imposter syndrome. You might have heard that in your career, but it's not limited to people who are just starting. It's everybody. And I wish someone would have told me what I'm about to tell you now back then, because it would have helped a lot. So, when you see those young, confident people, and, as a leader or a colleague, you literally are assessing and judging them, because that's what we do in work. We look at the people around us, and if they appear confident, the first thing that comes to mind is they know what they're doing. That's what we think. We see someone and they come and tell you a stat or a fact. Sometimes you don't even Google it, because you just believe what they're saying because they're so confident about it. Well, guess what? Even people who seem confident are sometimes winging it. So if you're just starting your job, the best advice I can give you is don't feel like you're not enough and that you're an imposter because you're just learning. That's how everyone starts. You obviously have a set of skills that got you the job. Just be confident in what you're doing and what you're saying. And as Matt said, and as Roger so eloquently put it earlier, you're going to learn. You won't know everything at the time, but you do need to get used to speaking up in meetings. You do need to know that you're going to learn, but try to be confident in what you are saying. And guess what? You are going to have to wing it in the beginning. It just is what it is. Don't overthink it. It's just that's it. Just be confident doing it. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. I think that learning and growth is the most fun part of the journey.
Yeah.
So just look forward to learning all sorts of new things. Don't be afraid to pivot, as Matt said. Well, this is the end of another Casual Friday. So thank both of you for joining me. Thank you out in the audience. Please like and subscribe. And if you all have any tips that you would like to give our viewers about things you wish you had known at the beginning of your career, please put them in the comments. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.